We are really happy to welcome Phil Wertz, the President and CEO of the Pinehurst Southern Pines and Aberdeen Convention and Visitor Bureau. Phil, it looks like Pinehurst is busier than ever with all the changes and tournaments that are scheduled for that area. Welcome in, buddy.
Yeah, thanks so much, Fred. Great to have you. Great. Thanks for being here. And it's always a great day in Pinehurst, beautiful day in Pinehurst. And yeah, there is a lot going on. It's just, what is it, February? And, it's jam-packed all the time.
Yeah, you were telling me before we went on camera that you really set new records for the second half of the year last year. So people really want to kind of get their name in if they're going to think about coming down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Plan ahead, plan well in advance. Peak season is typically mid-March to about Memorial Day. I know we're expecting a very, very heavy spring, but it's been that way really every month. And what's funny is a few years ago, as Fred, this used to be, summertime was a very dormant period, the wintertime. But we're a 12-month destination. So people ask us, hey, can you play in December? Can you play? Yeah, you can play. I mean, we're going to have temperatures in the 60s here soon. We had 60s not too long ago, a little bit of snow in between, but that's typical for the Sandhills in North Carolina. But yeah, it's February, but we did have a great first 6 months of this fiscal year. We're based on occupancy tax. So when people stay here, it helps fund our budget and help us promote the golf that people come here and enjoy, among other things. So we've had record-setting months every month, July through December, and it just keeps rolling.
The golf tournament business there is really big as well. The Country Club of North Carolina hosted the U.S. Junior Amateur last year, and this year you've got the U.S. Women's Open coming back to Pine Needles in June for like the fourth time, right?
Yeah, it's unprecedented fourth U.S. Women's Open at Pine Needles. That's going to be June 2nd through 5th of this year. Perfect time of year. It won't be too hot right after Labor Day or right after Memorial Day, of course. And you can go to uswomensopen.com and get your tickets. So it's going to be a great event. You mentioned the junior amateur at CCNC. They have two unbelievable golf courses, the Dogwood and Cardinal courses, which hosted that event. It was spectacular. It was really cool to see it on TV. I'd never seen CCNC on TV before. So it was a great opportunity for them, great exposure. They sold a lot of memberships as a result of that championship. And actually in 2023, next year, they'll host the Atlantic Coast Conference Men's Golf Championship. So that's kind of sandwiched in between the U.S. Women's Open in 22, and then the U.S. Open comes back to Pinehurst number 2 in 24.
With all this growth and all the people coming there, Pinehurst Resort recently added the historic Magnolia Inn to their accommodation packages. Plus, they're looking to add a completely new lodge that's going to overlook the Cradle, the popular par 3.
It's interesting. You think about Pinehurst Resort and you think about they say 10 golf courses. They include the Cradle in that, although they will announce probably Pinehurst number 10. I don't think there's any big secret that's going to happen where remember where the old Pitt golf course used to be. That's where they're planning on designing Pinehurst number 10. So you've got all those golf courses. And what's interesting in the 126-year history of Pinehurst Resort, none of their lodging components, the Carolina, the Holly Inn, the Manor Inn, and the Magnolia Inn, which is in the heart of the village of Pinehurst, has no view of any golf course. So the new golf course or the new hotel that you talked about, the Lodge, which will be built just prior and will open just before the U.S. Open in 2024, as you said, just overlooking the Cradle and Thistledew, will be the only view of any golf component at Pinehurst. So we're looking forward to that. That should get underway construction-wise probably sometime this summer. And then immediately after that, the USGA buildings will be built on campus as well, which will include their second headquarters, Golf House Pinehurst, the museum, the testing center, the green grass section. So a lot of growth and a lot of change is going to be happening here between right now and the U.S. Open in 2024.
Phil, you talked about the Cradle, and the last time we were there, you and I were able to play the Cradle. Just had a blast. I love that par 3. It's such a laid back atmosphere. It's become very popular, hasn't it?
Yeah. And it's very laid back. I mean, it's one of the most amount of fun you can have with your clothes on, I guess you could say, because it's just a fun place to have fun. I mean, you see kids out there to grandparents. It's for any age, beginners, amateurs, experts. I drove by it the other day and there were 10-somes and 12-somes playing, but it's an unhurried, unrushed experience. They play music there. They sell adult beverages there. In fact, they just opened the Cradle Crossing. If you remember, they used to have the van there, the Pine Cone. They would sell their famous transfusions from there, but now they have a facility. It is a wraparound bar called the Cradle Crossing. It's extremely popular. And, it's just another amenity that Pinehurst has added to make golf fun and cool again.
We talk a lot about golf, but there's much more to the Pinehurst area than just the golf courses. At Pinehurst, you've got Southern Pines, was purchased by the same family that owns Mid Pines and Pine Needles, and it recently reopened after an extensive renovation.
Yeah, Kyle France did that renovation. In fact, he did the renovations of Pine Needles. In fact, he's done some enhancements in advance of the 22 U.S. Open. One of the things you'll notice at the Open this year, number 10, if you remember, number 10 is a big dog leg left. He's put a waist bunker across, it's about 2/3 down the fairway. So it's kind of a risk reward for the ladies at the U.S. Women's Open if you're somebody you want to look for on TV or for you come here in person. So he's added some things, narrowed in some fairways as well. But he did redo Southern Pines Golf Club. And if you've played that before, it's one of the best designs that Donna Ross has ever done. In fact, Kelly Miller, who owns Pine Needles, Mid Pines, and now Southern Pines Golf Club, he's always loved that golf course. It has always had great bones. It was owned by the Elks Club, which did a good job over the years, but they admittedly were not golf course operators. So now that Kelly's taken it over, and when Kel did that renovation, they removed about 800 trees. And so it is a completely different golf course. And what's cool about that golf course, Fred, is that they have what's called the lost hole. They realized when they looked at some of the diagrams of Donna Ross, there was this one hole in between 4 and number 15. Was basically an extra hole. And so with all the brush and they cleared everything away, they realized, hey, there was a hole here. And then they looked at the diagrams of what Ross had done. It's like, yeah, there was a hole there. So you can actually play. It's an extra hole. And if you want to do a 9-hole routing, you can walk 1 through 4, play the lost hole, hop right over to 15 and come back in and play through 18. So just a spectacular new redesign. If you get a chance to get to the area, you got to include that in your must-play list. Talonmore, what's cool about Talonmore, they have a new baby llama now called Jones, named after Reese Jones, the designer of the Talonmore new course. And Reese actually reached out to the resort and said he appreciated the llama being named after him. So when he comes to town, he's redesigning a course down in South Carolina. So he plans to come up here in the next month or so and take a picture with the llama. So we'll see that. But a great addition for Talonmore you'll see this spring. If you're familiar with Top Tracer, you see that technology on PGA Tour broadcast. They actually have a component where it's almost like a mini Top Golf. There'll be 10 bays with Top Tracer, really same concept. You can hit balls. You see the Top Tracer technology. You can play Pinehurst number 2. You can play Pebble Beach, eat wings, drink beer, have soft drinks. It's just like a Top Golf experience. So that's going to be open in April, and they'll have lights. So you can be out there to about 10 o'clock at night. So it's a great amenity that Talonmore is going to add this year. But there are other golf courses. Tobacco Road is another great golf course to play when you're here. Mid-South is part of the Talonmore Golf Resort tree. So there's some great opportunities to play golf, not just at Pinehurst, but in the entire area.
Yeah. When I was down there probably 4 or 5 years ago, we played Southern Pines. I was really impressed with it, but it was not well maintained at the time, and it just needed some work done. It needed some, like you say, some trees cleared out, some work, some fixing up, cleaning up. But I was really impressed with the layout, and I can't wait to go back and see it now that it's been done.
It's an amazing place. I mean, we played it right after it opened. It was last September when they reopened it. And once it matures and grows in, there's still a little work, a little rough around the edges, but an amazing redesign. If you played it and you play it when you come again, you see what Kyle France had done to that golf course. It is a complete transformation and really one of the best courses you're going to play here.
Yeah, you talked about Talonmore Mid-South, but the Dormy Club is also adding some new cottages and a new clubhouse for stay and play, right?
Yeah, sure did. They actually reopened that in the fall. So that is it's a private, but you're part of a network, a nationwide network of about 7 courses right now, 7 or 8 courses. But their clubhouse is spectacular. You basically, once you get to Dormy Club, you never have to leave. It's a complete concierge golf concept. You stay on site, you eat on site. They'll cater to you, bring everything to you. So for a private golf club experience, it is pretty awesome, and a chance to play other golf courses around the country as well.
Phil, before we let you get away, one of my favorite subjects, every place we travel, is dining. And, Pinehurst, Southern Pines, Aberdeen, you got plenty of shopping. You got great dining. You got, 4 or 5 breweries or something. You got everything besides golf. You can't play golf all day. You want to do some other stuff. You got it.
I tell you, the opportunity to eat great local dining from amazing chefs. And most of Moore County, where we're located, is rural. So there's a lot of farmers in the county. So when you're in season, if you're going to Elliott's on Linden or Ashton's or Ironwood, chances are you're going to have some fresh produce that was probably picked that morning from an amazing Moore County farmer. So you've got a ton of great local restaurants. There's a couple of chains here, but what's great about our local downtowns, whether it be in Carthage or Southern Pines or the village of Pinehurst, there are no chains. It's all local restaurants, all things that you want to experience and things you're not going to find in your hometown that are going to make you want to come back, aside from the golf, the great dining experiences you have here. You mentioned the shopping as well, but I'll mention something CVB we're going to roll out here on April the 1st in commemoration of National Beer Month. Because we love our beer here. We love our breweries. So we have 4 breweries, but we have 7 locations in what's going to be called the Sandhills Pour Tour Passport. It's a passport, looks just like a passport, feels just like a passport. You open it up and you see the 7 locations. It's 4 breweries. One of the breweries has 2 locations. Then the Southern Pines Growler Company, as well as the James Creek Cider House. If you go to all 7 of those locations and get a stamp, you don't have to buy alcohol. You can buy a hat, T-shirt, a beer, whatever you want. You'll get a stamp. And you bring it by the CVB, and we'll give you a nice 16-ounce Sandhills Pour Tour Passport mug. But you're also going to get something that we've had recently commissioned. It's a one-of-a-kind. This is the 150th anniversary of the birth of Donald Ross. Obviously, he has an amazing history here in the Pinehurst area and the home of American golf. 150th anniversary commemorative coin, which has Donald Ross's image on the front and on the back as an image of Dornick Cottage, where he stayed and designed all these amazing golf courses, which is still, people can stay in Dornick Cottage if you arrange it through Pinehurst Resort. And it's right off the 3rd hole of Pinehurst number 2. So it's a really cool 2-inch heavy challenge coin. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with those. But if you get the stamp, the passport completely stamped, you get that complimentary. And then we'll donate $25 to the Tufts Archives to keep that facility maintained. It's a beautiful place to visit if you're coming into the village of Pinehurst. Go by the Tufts Archives. It's the only place in the world you have every pin flag of every Donald Ross golf course in the world.
Yeah, that is a really cool place. You can go in there and spend hours in there. So if you catch a rainy day, it's a good place to go over and spend some time. Hey,
it's also where Gil Hansen and Ben Crenshaw, they went there to do studies on when they redesigned number 2 and Gil did number 4. They went there to look at some of the old Donald Ross diagrams and maps. And so they did a lot of studying in there. It's a really fascinating place to go to and check out when you're here.
Well, with all of these options, the Pinehurst, Southern Pines, and Aberdeen area have plenty of choices at different pricing packages to meet any traveling golfer's budget. Phil, even for 150 years, Pinehurst has been around. But if you haven't been there in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, there's a lot of new stuff you want to get back to Pinehurst and see. It's still one of the top golf resort areas in the nation.
No question. And I guess if you want to go to a one-stop shop and see everything that's going on in the destination, just go to homeofgolf.com. You can see lodging options, our golf packages. It's a really cool place to kind of navigate and see the area and learn more about what's going on. I didn't even mention the pottery. If you like pottery, Seagrow Potters are legendary. They've been around for centuries, for generations. So it's a great place also to check out when you're here as well.
Been chatting with Phil Wertz, President and CEO of the Pinehurst, Southern Pines, and Aberdeen Convention Visitors Bureau. Phil, thanks so much for coming in and chatting with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely. And, have a great golf year. We're looking forward to getting cranked up again, getting warm, see the green grass growing, and get out and hit some golf balls.
Thanks a lot, Phil.